go away. Actually, it sounds like it is going away, and it sounds like we'll have baseball. We're about a half an hour away from game time as the Marlins and the Phillies resume their three-game series. Now, Roberto Mendez getting his running in, getting loose. That's a good sign. Whenever the pitchers are down there starting to loose up, you know baseball's close. They never let those pitchers go down there and warm up unless they're sure that we're going to play. The tarp has never come on. They've got the tarps on the mound and the plate, but we've got baseball coming up. Rich Waltz, along with Tommy Hunt, the Marlins obviously want to reverse things. The Phillies are the hottest thing going right now, it seems like, aside from the Colorado Rockies in the National League.
Yeah, they are, and I feel good because I just came back from loosening up once I heard the possible 7:30 start. You're absolutely right about the Phillies. It's a ball club that when we were in Philadelphia in talking to a number of their writers and the people who follow the club on a daily basis, they really haven't had a chance to put everything together, and you get the feeling they're getting real close now.
Well, they always seem to do it in September. They've got the best record in the National League in September over the last 4 years, best second-half record under Charlie Manuel last 5 years. And for the Fish, last night, the one shining moment had to be the Dan Uggla home run. And for Uggla, it was weighing on him. He admitted it after the ball game, but what a moment for a guy that literally came out of nowhere in 2006.
You know, it's just tremendous when you start throwing his name in there. Now he's ahead of the Jeff Kents, Rogers Hornsby, Utley, Soriano, Sandberg, Joe Morgan. None of them had 4 years of 30 or more home runs as a second baseman. The other thing, there's never been a Marlin that's had 4 years of 30 or more home runs. That's the other thing lost in all of that. So Dan Uggla, we're happy for him. I was surprised that it was a little load on him. He seems like the guy who would not have that affect him, but it really did, and you could tell once he hit that home run last night that it took that load off him.
Yeah, he said after he hit it, he exhaled, and he got himself the record. It'll be interesting to see how Uggla fares over the next 2.5 weeks and see if some of that pressure is taken off of him. What happens to him at the plate?
I would guess that he'll go on a little tear, and we'll see some home runs.
Phillies are on a big tear right now. They're 10-3 in September. And last night we saw all the guys that were hot, and they hurt the Fish last night. Long ball was the theme for the Phillies.
Tell you what, if you make mistakes to this Philly ball club, Jason Worth can hurt you. Chase Utley, we know over the years he can hurt you. Chooks, Carlos Ruiz having a fantastic year. 3 home runs just against the Marlins, and Greg Dobbs off the bench with a pinch hit home run last night. This ball club has a lot of power. I think if you look at the teams that are the leaders in home runs, good ballpark to hit in Cincinnati. Ball goes well at Miller Park in Milwaukee. Nice big ballpark in Arizona. Of course, Coors Field, Citizens Bank. All nice hitters' ballparks, I guess you could say, except for Sun Life Stadium. This is a good ballpark to hit in, but not necessarily the long ball. So that's a good number. The Phillies find themselves up there ahead of the Marlins, but a good number for the Marlins to be in that group.
It's an email Tuesday night, and it's a 7:30 start now with this rain delay. And one of our themes tonight, new ballpark. Claude Delorme is going to be by in the 5th inning to take your questions about the new ballpark. And to get you ready when we get back, we will have Inside the Marlins, the new ballpark, the preview of the latest Inside the Marlins episode. Stick around, we'll entertain you, I promise, until first pitch.
the bottom line, you want to go with the same stuff you went with in Philadelphia. In 6 innings, he gave up 1 hit. He walked a couple, struck out 6. And until the Phillies make an adjustment, you go with the same stuff. He showed a good slider. He showed a fastball that he spotted and had some movement. And if he can continue to do that and throw strikes, we'll see how things fall into place. Now he has to be careful running the bases. He got his first major league hit. He actually told Edwin that I was thinking too. He was thinking to go to second base. You know what? He dropped down a sacrifice bunt in that game as well. So all told, a good major league debut for Mendez.
And a great 2 weeks for Mendez. He and his wife had a baby boy on the 25th of August. He throws a fastball for a strike against Victorino. And in that game against the Phillies, Mendez got his first major league strikeout. He got the ball for that. He got his first major league hit. He got the ball for that. There's a liner that's by Hanley and into left, picked up by Morrison. And he also got the ball for his first major league win. All 3 of those balls, 1 for his wife, 1 for the new baby, and 1 for his mother.
Yeah, now he's going to have to deal with Victorino at first base, who has 31 steals on the year.
Placido Polanco and then Chase Utley. They're a tough combination. Polanco, who handles the bat so well, and Victorino, one of the best base stealers in the game today.
We didn't see a whole lot of Mendez and his move to first because not a whole lot of Phillies got on base. Gave up the 1 hit to Brian Schneider, and he walked a couple. Victorino now with an 8-game hitting streak.
Victorino's been caught just 4 times this year, 31 stolen bases. He bluffs, and Polanco hits that ball to left center field and hits it deep. That's in the gap. It goes to the wall, picked up by Bonifacio. Here comes Victorino, and he scores. Moments ago, you made the comment, you go with what you threw last week until the Phillies make an adjustment. And it looks like the Phillies have made an adjustment.
They've adjusted. Now you got to change things up a little bit with your approach. But he's also made some mistakes in pitches that are up middle of the plate. Polanco, who generally doesn't pull the ball, and that's his 151st hit, but 116 have been singles. So by pulling that ball in the gap, he got himself a 2-base hit and RBI.
And now Mendez has to face Utley and Howard with Worth behind him. And the Phillies are off to a quick start. Man, are they hot right now. They've won 7 of their last 8 against the Fish. They are 10-3 in September. And, of course, they continue to lead the National League East. The Atlanta Braves are a game back, and the Braves playing tonight at home against the Washington Nationals. The Nationals have scored first in that one. 2-0, Nationals in the second.
Livan Hernandez and Jair Jurgens in that game in Atlanta.
Utley last night put wood in the seats. He was 1 for 3, walked a couple times, scored a couple runs. His last 14 games has seen his average well over 350, and he's driven in 16 runs. Not your typical Chase Utley year. He had the thumb injury, the subsequent surgery, missed about 5-6 weeks. Pops it up. Hanley's out there. Morrison and Bonifacio charging. And it's Bonifacio who makes the catch.
Good job by Hanley to get out there under the twilight to let Bonifacio know. And Bonnie talking with Logan Morrison now. Hey, we need a little help out here at this time.
All right, here's the defense for the Fish.
There it is. Morrison, Bonifacio, and Mike Stanton in the outfield. Wes Helms in there against the lefty Cole Hamels. Hanley and Dan Huggle up the middle. Gabby at first, and Brad Davis behind the plate.
And it was Davis who caught Mendez in that start a week ago last night in Philadelphia. Here's Ryan Howard. Mendez misses in with a fastball. Howard 1 for 4 last night. He drove in a run.
Yeah, with that RBI last night for Howard, gives him 100. 5 straight years.
First Philly ever to do it.
Pretty amazing. They've had some pretty good offensive players there over the years, and some Hall of Fame players.
Chuck Klein is the guy that he passed. Look at that. Looking for home run number 30. 2006, his biggest year. And of course, the payday came this offseason. Smacks it. Ugla, diving stop on his knees. Oh, great play. Down goes Gabby. As he stumbles away, Howard hit him. Holding at third is Polanco. Man, a lot of moving parts on that play. Terrific play by Ugla. Gabby in the line of fire. Howard ran into him. But Gabby didn't go down, and Polanco's still at third.
Look at this diving play by Ugla. He gets up, can only one hop it, and then Gabby's right in the way. There's really no place for Howard to go. But the key was that Gabby was able to maintain his balance and stay on his feet. Victorino took a big turn at third base. If Gabby goes down, Victorino comes in and scores. That is fantastic for a power-hitting second baseman. The most prolific power-hitting second baseman in history.
Feels good to say that, doesn't it? Here's Worth. This is a big out for Mendez to get Worth and strand Polanco. Breaking ball misses up. Fastball slider. His changeup is his third pitch. And he's gone 3-0 on Worth. Worth is a guy that he handled. He was 0 for 2 against Mendez with a strikeout.
The Marlins, as a team, have handled Worth pretty well this year.
Mendez misses way outside.
Keep in mind that we told you this in Philadelphia when Mendez was on the mound. For the most part, in the minor leagues, he was a relief pitcher. He was a closer for Jupiter in 07 at 29 saves, so not a lot of starts. He had 9 starts this year in AAA before coming up.
So they're at the corners. Here is Ibanez. Raul 0 for 2 last night. And there's a fastball for a strike. You can see the late movement that Mendez had, and in talking to Brad Davis about catching him the first time, he said that was the biggest surprise to him, and the biggest weapon against the Phillies was the late life and late movement on his fastball. On a hop, Hanley has it. With the shift, he has to go to first in time and gets the out. So the Marlins, with some nice defense, keep it to a run, 1-0.
el botón del SAT.
Here comes the Marlins lineup. 1-0. Phillies on top. The Fish are 3 over at 73 and 70. Emilio Bonifacio is in center. Cameron Maben is still ill and not available tonight. Logan Morrison at left. Hanley Ramirez, Dan Uggla, Gabby Sanchez, Mike Stanton on a nice 8-game streak with 5 homers in that span. Wes Helms gets the start against the lefty. Brad Davis behind the plate, and Mendez hits 9th.
This guy's been a good one for going on 4 years now. 26-year-old stylish left-hander. I think I used that term in Philadelphia. Nice, fluid, easy delivery.
And a guy that has snapped back to his 2008 form when he was a terrific postseason pitcher. Bonifacio, from this side of the plate, has done quite well this year. He's hitting .394 against left-handed pitching. And he takes a strike, and it's 1-1. And, of course, the Marlins, in terms of facing left-handed starters, 30-13. That's the best record, percentage-wise, in the big leagues. The last lefty to beat him, Cole Hamels. One-two coming. Change up. Bonifacio pokes it out into right center field. That's a base hit. And a very good at bat by Emilio Bonifacio. Familiar faces in familiar places for the Phillies defensively.
Not too many changes with Ibanez, Victorino, and Worth in that outfield. Polanco's at third. Howard's at first. Wilson Valdez subbing and doing a good job, good solid job for Jimmy Rollins. And Carlos Ruiz behind the plate. Now, Hamels has a few more weapons in his arsenal. He can go with the changeup, the curveball. One of the key pitches for him has been his cutter. And to right-handed hitters, he keeps them honest with the cutter, and then can flop the changeup away. And to left-handed hitters, he's just tough. Lefties are hitting 184 against him.
Morrison, of course, has hit well against lefties. Ball and a strike to Logan Morrison. He takes a strike. 1-2.
Morrison doubled in one of his at-bats against Hamels.
Hamels is not the easiest guy to read as a base stealer.
He's almost the type, and you have a combination where you can do it. As soon as he lifts that leg, whether or not he's going home or first, you go. First movement. And then you challenge Ryan Howard to make a good throw. And Howard, at times, can struggle making throws to second base.
It's another Logan Morrison at bat. He falls behind a great pitcher and then takes a couple pitches off the plate with 2 strikes. Now the count's full at 3-2. We'll see if Bonifacio's on the move. He's running, and Morrison fouls it back.
Howard's made 13 errors this year, and a number of those are throwing errors. He's much improved, actually, around the bag, fielding ground balls.
We lost a bit of weight in the offseason, and his footwork, it's amazing how much better the footwork is when you drop 25, 30 pounds. Not running. Morrison pulls it. Howard fires it. Got it out there, and that's it.
Almost got it through that hole on the right side. Couldn't quite do so, and there's a little bit of that footwork of Ryan Howard. He got off a decent throw to get the force at second. He used the feet. A little more nimble than he once was. Not a perfect throw, but Valdez able to hang on.
Here comes Hanley. Our first email of the night is from Diane. Has tried to email a few times, has been unable to get through. I met Diane the other night, standing in line to buy a sandwich here. And she wants to know any talk of Hanley changing his hair back. Swing and a miss. I'm not sure what the expiration date is on a bad dye job, but it's been, what, about 3 weeks?
Yeah, we haven't heard any talk. We'll have to investigate a little bit more.
Hanley was 2 for 5 last night. He rifles that one into right field. Morrison around second. He'll get to third easily. And Diane, I don't think he'll be changing it anytime soon if he continues to swing the bat the way he has.
Boy, this is a beautiful swing. Hanley takes that bat with him. He liked it so much he didn't want to get rid of the bat. And sends Morrison over to third. That's some extension. You hear us use that term. That is tremendous extension by Hanley Ramirez.
At the corners now, here is Uggla. This has not been a good matchup for Uggla in his career. And that's Uggla against Cole Hamels. He's just 5 for 35 with 11 strikeouts against Hamels. He climbs in at 30 homers, 2 shy of his career high. The 92 RBIs is a career high. It ties his career high. And Hamels misses low and inside.
Well, he's already saved his club a run defensively on that tremendous play made on the shot by Howard. He's got a chance to add a run now offensively.
Down low, Steven in Satellite Beach has this email. He was watching MLB Network before the game tonight, and the analysts on set have started their own Dan Uggla fan club because they feel he's been slighted during his career by national media.
Ah, we love that.
And they're sick of him not getting any love. Well, there it is. That's the body of work. Uggla takes inside on the cutter. And counts 3-0.
And Rich, one note to Diane from our crack staff, which is at work early already. Since the Hanley Ramirez dye job, he's 28 for 69, a 406 average, 5 home runs, and 14 RBIs.
Uggla going to look at a 3-0 pitch here from Hamels. A little changeup. Uggla squirts it to the right side, and he's got himself a hit. Oh, my goodness.
Hey, you know what? His name is Dan Uggla on that one, too.
I don't think I've ever seen a guy get a hit on a 3-0 changeup off the end of the bat like that. Normally, it's one spot. You take a big rip. Watch this.
The great thing about a changeup is that the arm action is fastball, and you're looking fastball 3-0 if you have the green light. Hanley has to just kind of tippy-toe around that ball so it doesn't hit him. Squirts off the end of his bat. And Dan Uggla gets RBI number 93.
And the Marlins have tied the game at 1, and here is Gabby.
So a new career high, and Dan will be talking about that RBI, number 93.
And, of course, the scoreless inning streak for Cole Hamels comes to an end at 25 innings as the Marlins have a run.
Well, the adjustments the Marlins have made. Hamels, in his 7 innings in Philadelphia, gave up just 4 hits. He's given up 3 here in this first inning.
And it looks like the pitch he has the most confidence in right now is the changeup, because he just threw that 1-0 to Gabby after throwing it 3-0 to Uggla.
He saw, well, that's a good pitch for him, but he also saw the success that Blanton had last night. Joe Blanton threw as many changeups as I've seen him throw in a start.
Gabby sends one out to right field. Worth is there, and he makes the catch. That's going to bring up Mike Stanton. There are 2 outs here in the first inning, a 1-1 ball game. Stanton, an 8-game hitting streak, 13 hits in those 8 games, and 5 home runs, so he sits at 20 homers to go with 20 doubles and 49 driven in. 1 for 4 last night. His hit last night, an impressive double into the triangle out in left center field.
That double last night impressed a lot of people. Look at that, home runs in September. Saw Tulowitzki's name on that list. That's why the Rockies have been so hot. First 2 pitches have been fastballs after all those changeups he threw, and he's painting.
That was one of those pitches where the catcher was set up in, had to reach over the plate. But as you see on Fox Tracks, it was right down the middle. Struck him out. Hamels gets Stanton, but the Marlins get to him for a run. And it's 1-1. Ruiz. First pitch fastball for a strike. You got Wilson Valdez and Cole Hamels coming up. Ruiz has absolutely hammered the fish this year. Earlier tonight, talking to Charlie Manuel, I asked him who is your MVP this year. And obviously people point to guys like Ryan Howard or Jason Worth. But the 2 guys he talked about, Placido Polanco and Carlos Ruiz.
A couple of guys who have been steady, and Ruiz has hit others too. I mean, he's hit the Marlins well, but he comes into this game a 300 hitter. He came into this season with a 246 lifetime batting average. That gives you an idea how well he's played this year.
Pulls that breaking ball foul, and it's 1-2. And of course, we talked about all the things that he does so well in handling the pitching staff. Flips one out to right field. Stanton is over, and he's there, and he makes the catch. You can stop by the new Marlins Ballpark sales headquarters for a chance to win a framed All-Star poster autographed by Josh Johnson and Hanley Ramirez. The new sales headquarters located directly across from the ballpark. 877-411-2012. And a reminder on this email Tuesday, 5th inning, Claude Delorme will be by, and he will answer all of your ballpark questions.
And we have a lot of ballpark questions coming in, I understand.
We have an email from a Philly fan in Lexington, South Carolina. Mark. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Valdez fouls it back. Enjoy listening to you. Just want to comment that this Marlins team, from a Phillies fan perspective, has great potential. What would scare me as a Phillies fan is if the bullpen is improved. He saw the Braves exploit it, and he was pulling for the fish. And it seems to this Philly fan that the biggest issue is the bridge to Nunez or whoever else is closing. Here's the 1-1.
That's very astute observation, and it's certainly, I think, and I know you and I have talked about it, the number one need for the Marlins in the offseason.
There's a great PS on this email. Here's the 2-1, and it's fouled off. He's talking about the call, the Gabby Sanchez ball here. And he says, yes, the ball was fair. That's Bob Davidson for you. For what it's worth, I hate winning games like that as a fan. I want to win fair and square. We'll take it, but it was not a feel-good win for the Phillies. That's not a feel-good at bat for Wilson Valdez.
And a nice comeback getting these first two hitters by Alberto Mendez after the Phillies touched him up for a run in the first inning. So he's made some good pitches to Ruiz and then freezes Wilson Valdez.
Here's Hamill. Javier in Miramar. Rich and Tommy. How do you feel about Edwin Rodriguez coming back next year? I'm all for it. It's Javier in Miramar.
I think you and I both have said we would welcome Edwin back. I think we both feel he's done a terrific job. The ball club has responded. They've played well under him.
Hamels knocks out a hit. Bonifacio runs it down in center. And so the Phillies starter is aboard. That brings Victorino up.
And of course, we don't know what the ball club's plans are for next year, but that's just our 2 cents.
Gabriel in Weston wants to know from Sunday's game at Washington, was the squirrel trained on the scoreboard, and could you train the squirrel to show who's batting on the scoreboard as well? Might that be part of the new stadium?
I think they're working on that.
He's pretty close. He seemed to stay on the team that was ahead in all those matchups.
Yeah, they're working on the squirrel with pitching matchups.
Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
Still trying to decipher ERAs and whip.
And the best thing is, Tommy, he works for
peanuts.
Here's the 0-2. Sorry, had to do that one. Renee at Miami Lakes, embracing Mr. Loria's wish to have a unique stadium symbolic of the fighting fish. Would it be too much to ask if the Marlins were to install a giant fox tracks for all the ballpark, everyone in the ballpark to see how the umpires were doing? Renee, that's not a bad idea, but you know what? I don't think that would fly with the umpires. There's your Toyota Fox Tracks. Here's a 1-2. Did he go? No swing.
Fox Tracks would be kind of like and you cannot do this in a stadium. You cannot show close replays to get the fans all riled up one way or the other.
Like that one right there, yeah. They would not show that check swing because that was close. Victorino to center. Bonifacio is out there, and Bonnie makes the catch. You want trained squirrel? We give you moose and squirrel. Many ways to get a hold of us. You can just log on to foxsportsflorida.com, click on the Marlins link, and then ask the Marlins. Ask the announcers icon, or just go to askthemarlins@fox.com. Put that in your email address and send away. Now, Tommy, every now and then we get letters from fans who do not have computers, and you have a couple of those.
I do. I have a nice letter from Pearl in Fort Lauderdale. And she begins, Tommy and Rich, sorry, no computer, so no email. And her question is about pitching and about relief pitchers. How they come into a game, they get a few tosses to throw, but they can't go 2 innings. Pearl says, I don't get it. His job is pitching. Please help. A pitcher gets paid to pitch.
Wes Helm stands in. That's a good, it's not quite the angry letter from Pearl, but
well, I don't think Pearl took that approach, but we feel that, Pearl. We understand. We feel the same thing at times.
And Pearl, if that gets you frustrated, you might not want to watch tomorrow night's game, because the Marlins will have all staff ready tomorrow. At this point, the Marlins are just going to go with their bullpen, whoever they have to pitch for tomorrow night against Roy Halladay, and it's a real tough situation.
It kind of looks
to put Edwin Rodriguez in.
It's really not official, and still it depends on how this game goes. But the further we get into this game, and depending on the score, it kind of looks like we'll see Burke Badenhop as the starting pitcher tomorrow night. But that's not official, because he could pitch tonight.
Wes Helms with a 3-1 count. And he fouls that pitch back. The splits for Wes Helms, lefties versus righties, very dramatic this year. Helms 377 against lefties, 190 against righties. You saw his numbers against Hamels, Brad Davis, and then Adalberto Mendez. Down goes Helms. So a pair of strikeouts for Hamels after the Marlins got their run in the first.
It's funny, after the little splurge of runs and the RBI infield hit by Dan Uggla on the 3-0 changeup, Hamels has found his fastball. He struck out Mike Stanton on 3 straight fastballs, and he got Wes Helms there with a couple of fastballs.
Breaking ball, a strike to Davis. Brad hitting right at 255. 1 for 4 night last night. You see a couple of home runs. Had a big home run in Washington. He checks his swing at a high fastball from Hamels.
Rich, I was a little upset. I was talking to Brad. He had his parents in Washington, D.C. And he said his mom wanted to come up and say hi to us, and she was shy.
Really?
And I said, Brad, she could have just come up. We would have had a nice conversation.
We would have put her on. She could have called play-by-play for an inning.
Yeah. But they had come into Washington, D.C. from Arkansas.
There's Mendez on deck. Be nice to get Davis on, and then you could bunt with Mendez. See what the 3-1 offers.
Wow, even a 3-1 changeup to the number 8 hitter. That's a great indication of the command and feel that Hamels has for that pitch.
That went off the end of the bat. Now, you may know this one. I have no idea. This is from Bill and Kendall, trying to find the name of a Marlins relief pitcher 2 or 3 years ago that would, with the baseball, hit his athletic cup before getting ready for the windup.
I think it was Josias Manzanilla.
The swing and a miss. And I will, I'll give you the rest of the story on that, because I was in the ballpark when Josias Manzanillo got hit in that very delicate spot in Seattle as a Mariner, and he was not wearing a protective cup. Mendez swings and misses. So I think that became part of his routine, just checking to make sure he had it on.
Make sure it was on. Hey, by the way, Brandon Hyde, who's Edwin's bench coach, was telling us, even though Adalberto has not had a lot of at-bats, even in the minor leagues, and at that big swing, he got a changeup, he said he actually hits the ball with a lot of power in batting practice. He hit a ball to center field, he said, yesterday. It was unbelievable.
Well, he signed with the Cubs as an infielder, but they quickly turned him into a pitcher. And look at this.
Now, take it
Don't
easy.
Run.
He's going up the first baseline.
Don't run.
That's it. Take it easy.
That's amazing. He goes through, what, a 10-year minor league career and never had a hit. And now he's been in the big leagues a week. This is his second game. He's got 2 of them.
Yeah, you're right. He signed as a catcher. That's and now he's not thinking 2 right now. He's thinking stay healthy, stay in the game, get another win for his team.
So he's at first, and here's Bonifacio. And I think if Bonifacio is going to score Mendez, he's going to have to hit it over the fence. Hamels goes 2-0 on him. David in Boca. When Chris Coghlan returns back to the Marlins, is he expected to play third? And will Emilio become a utility player? Who will be the odd man out? Little tapper out towards second, and Utley's going to get the out. We'll answer that question when we get back. Marlins and Phillies headed towards the third. 1-1. A new ballpark, behind-the-scenes footage, interviews, all take you on a journey through the design and construction of the new state-of-the-art facility. Tune in to Fox Sports Florida Friday at 10:30 after the Cubs game and catch this one-of-a-kind episode. Email Tuesday tonight, ballpark emails in the 5th inning when Claude Delorme stops in. Alberto Mendez now faces Placido Polanco, Chase Utley, and Ryan Howard. Polanco's double drove in the only Philly run. That was back in the first. And since that first inning, it looks like Mendez has settled down a bit. It's 0-1 to Polanco. Last emailer wanted to know, is Chris Coghlan a lock for third base? What happens to Bonifacio? I think there's a lot of questions about who is going to be playing third base, whether it's Chris Coghlan. I'll give you another name. Matt Dominguez had a very good second half.
Yes, he did.
In Double-A, and he finished the year. He had 252, 14 homers, 81 RBIs, 34 doubles. His walk to strikeout ratio, 56 walks, 96 strikeouts.
Hey, if the Marlins can bring up pitchers that have ERAs over 6, they can bring up a young third baseman hitting .252.
Here's the 2-2. Grounded in the hole. The Hanley got around it nicely and makes a good play. Jacksonville is in the postseason again. And right now, the best of 5 championship series in the Southern League. Jacksonville and Tennessee.
Hey, the whole key for Jacksonville, think about it. They did a good part of that season in winning without Mike Stanton, who hit 21 home runs there in a little over 50 games. I think the thing about what we've heard about Matt Dominguez, tremendous fielder, is major league ready as far as fielding. Can hit a fastball, probably needs a little more minor league time working on adjusting to breaking pitches.
And, you know, if you look at timeline of players that excel or you know, have a good second half, say in Double-A, and you say he needs a little more minor league time, sometimes that's not a full season. Sometimes it's late May, early June when you call up a guy like a Mike Stanton or a Dominguez. And so, you know, if Chris Coughlin is the third baseman to start the season, that fastball apparently was low, and it's 3-0. I think the overriding theme is that the Marlins have a lot of good pieces, and Chris Coughlin is one of those pieces. So is Logan Morrison. So is Gabby Sanchez. So is Mike Stanton. So is Dan Uggla. So is Hanley Ramirez. The question is going to be, where do those pieces fit in the puzzle? And what type of puzzle do the Marlins want to build? That one apparently down as well. Doesn't look like Greg Gibson calling that low strike. Take a look at it on Fox Tracks. Let's see if it did dip low.
I don't think so. I'll tell you what, Chase Utley took a lot of pitches last night that were borderline on the corner like that, and they were called balls. And I truly do think him standing so close to the plate kind of throws the umpire off at times.
Membership has its privileges, I guess.
Yeah, and he's established himself pretty well.
Yes, he has. Here's Ryan Howard. Howard hit a shot between Gabby and Uggla out into right field that Uggla made a terrific sprawling stop on, and then from his knees threw Howard out.
Yeah, you're right about the Chris Coughlin situation. I mean, we hear that he will get the opportunity to play third, but so many things can happen if a deal is made. If, as you pointed out and used the term, pieces of the puzzle are moved around a little bit, you never know. But it's a nice situation to be in, to be able to fill somebody in the lineup who was a Rookie of the Year.
Oh, amen. And you saw Marlins Live. You heard Charlie Manuel talking about Morrison and Stanton. And so those are two big pieces there. You've got Gabby Sanchez, who's been in the Rookie of the Year conversation all year long.
It's interesting. I mean, I just thought of this when you said that. You've got Gabby, who's been in that talk most of the year. But you have a guy like Mike Stanton, who probably around the league is more known than Gabby Sanchez just because of what he's done as far as the home runs and the talk of baseball. Gabby's just kind of workmanlike, gone about his business.
And had a terrific year. Mendez misses in. So now he's 3-0 on Ryan Howard after walking Utley. Jason Worth is on deck. Howard had the green light, and he sends a fly ball that's going to be foul. Morrison tracks it down in the corner. Look at the Nationals on top of Atlanta, 4-0 in the fourth. Don't think that the Phillies aren't aware of that.
Oh, I'm sure that a couple of guys down in the dugout have spotted that score.
That one pulled foul. Counts 3-2. Of course, Ryan Howard and Chase Utley, for kids growing up in Philadelphia, those guys have got to be their favorite players. Hanley, Ugla for the Marlins. We've got an email from Gary in Boynton Beach wanting to know who were our favorite players when we were growing up. 3-2 coming to Howard. Let's see if Utley's moving. He's on the move. Fastball is called a ball. And again, that's a pitch that Mendez didn't get to Utley. And we'll take a look at it. We'll see if it's in the same spot. Greg Gibson didn't give it to Mendez against Howard.
The other thing that makes it tough, watch Brad Davis. It's a low fastball. Those are strikes. Obviously, he's not calling that pitch on the edge. It's a strike. Sometimes you get blocked out a little bit by the catcher who's coming up to make a throw. Now, where we'll really find out, we're going to have to keep an eye on Greg Gibson and see what he calls with Cole Hamels out there, if Hamels gets that pitch.
Rain starts, Worth steps in. Runners first and second.
And the last thing with the pitching situation as it is for the Marlins that they need is a rain delay that wouldn't allow Mendez to come back.
Now that pitch, to me, Tommy, if you're not going to get the pitch at the knees, that last pitch, you've got to get that pitch. I mean, wow. At some point.
That's right. You're going to either get a pitch up or a pitch down, one of the two. And right now, Mendez is getting neither. So that means he has to throw it right down the middle of the plate. And guess what Jason Worth can do with a pitch right down the middle of the plate? He can hit it a long way. So if Greg Gibson's going to call a game like this tonight, we'll be here for 4 hours. We might be anyway with rain.
1-0 pitch.
That's what drives me crazy about umpires. I mean, that's a tiny strike zone. And you want to speed up the game, don't have Greg Gibson behind the plate calling pitches the way he is tonight.
One. That one in on the hands of Worth, and the count is 1-2. Well, you got a rookie pitcher making his second start. He's facing the best team in the National League right now, the Philadelphia Phillies. And it's starting to pour. And he's getting squeezed. And so, with all that running through his head, he's trying to keep his composure and get some outs here.
Yeah, and he's pitching to a guy who's a pretty good hitter.
Worth walked back in the first. Breaking ball, fly ball. Utley's going to tag. Stanton makes the catch. Utley's on his way to third. And Stanton's throw is cut. Now Mendez and Brad Davis discussing what they want to do with Ibanez. He hit a sharp one-hopper Hanley's way to finish off the first.
Yeah, we told you about Mendez, for the most part, in his minor league career, closer, 83 career saves in the minor leagues. Some of that coming up in the Cubs organization before the Marlins got him in the minor league Rule 5 draft.
There's a Major League Rule 5 draft and a minor league Rule 5 draft.
Minor league, let's say a guy's left on a Double-A roster, you can Rule 5 him after so many years.
Ibanez to right field. Stanton's right there, makes the catch, and Mendez works out of the third inning. Nicely done. 1-1. pressure going. All right, little pitch-by-pitch sequence for you.
We're going to show you a little Alberto Mendez. Ball 4. It's in the strike zone. To Howard, same place. Again, a ball. And now he goes up a little bit, a breaking ball in the strike zone, and a ball to Jason Worth. But guess what? Cole Hamels misses inside, and it's a called third strike. The next thing you're going to tell me is that Niger Morgan's playing tonight.
He's hitting 7th, Tommy.
No.
Here's Morrison, and he takes a strike. Hang with him. Logan Morrison, Hanley Ramirez, and Dan Uggla now in the 3rd against Hamels. And Morrison smacks a line drive to left, right at Ibanez. So he was on that pitch and hit it well.
Tell you what, Lomo coming into the game has hit .370 against the Phillies this year.
Okay, we haven't answered the questions. Who were your favorite players growing up?
Well, growing up in Southern California, before Major League Baseball came there in 1962, Ted Williams was always a favorite of mine. I actually went with my parents to Arizona to see Ted Williams in spring training. The Red Sox had spring training in Scottsdale.
Ted Williams from Cole Hamels' hometown of San Diego.
And then, as the Dodgers came, as a teenager in those years, the Dodgers came. I always enjoyed Maury Wills, John Roseboro, Willie Davis, Tommy Davis, that whole team in the 60s.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to Hanley. Fastball in on his hands, and it's fouled back out of play.
And, of course, I used to enjoy the first baseman, Ron Fairley.
The redhead. Hanley against the Phillies in his career.
And how about you out in the Bay Area?
Northern California. 0-2 coming to Hanley. A swing and a miss. Let's do our Geico quote before we talk about any more ball players. It's from Dan Uggla. It's about the historic home run. Once I felt it hit my bat and saw the way it was going, I exhaled. It's been wearing on me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I thought one of the most fascinating things that Uggla said to Allison Williams last night was regarding his path to the big leagues. Because everyone knows this story. Uggla was buried in Arizona's system. The Marlins snatched him in the Rule 5 draft, and he had a terrific rookie year in 06, and he's been slugging ever since. But Uggla last night told Allison Williams, he said, you know, the way it worked out perfectly for me, because in Uggla's words, he didn't feel he was ready for the big leagues until 06.
You know what? I related to that when I heard him say that, having spent 7 years in the minor leagues and 5 in AAA. When I got to the big leagues, I felt I was ready to be there. And I think he was, in essence, saying the same thing, that he had some things he needed to work on in the minor leagues in Arizona's organization. And once he got here and got the opportunity with the Marlins, he's just taken off.
Uggla takes a fastball for a strike on 3-0, and it's 3-1. 151 home runs. There's a strike. Let's take a look at this pitch sequence on Fox Tracks. Yep, right on the corner.
On the edge. So with the other ones, I guess we see the game.
Full count now. That's out. Uggla takes the walk. I think when you're a kid and you're growing up, especially if you're a baseball player, you kind of gravitate to guys that play that position. And as a kid in the Bay Area growing up, they had a terrific shortstop, Campy Campaneris, who was a big hero. And then once I got to high school and into college, as a player, one of the guys I followed because I bought Charlie Lau's book, The Art of Hitting 300, was George Brett. So those were probably my two favorite.
Not too bad.
And the other guy, just because of his size and his underdog fighting spirit, was the guy that was Cookie's double play combo.
Freddie Patek.
Freddie Patek.
Yeah.
2 outs. Gabby with the count 0-1. A lot of stadium emails are coming in. Keep them coming. Claude Delorme will be here in the 5th.
There's one off the plate. So the pitch in, he's calling for a strike. See, that's what's ridiculous. You can adjust if you call a pitch up or down. But if it's in or away, that's a tougher pitch to adjust to.
It hit him. Oh, look at Hamels. Listen to Hamels crying about Gabby Sanchez diving in.
All he needs to do is look out at his second baseman, Chase Utley, who's been hit 15 times this year. There's no crying in baseball or whining.
I mean, Utley
leans over. He's the king of leaning over the strike zone.
He didn't lean in. He got hit on the back elbow. That's not leaning in. I mean, he was checking his swing. But Hamels is a competitor. You understand that.
And Utley's out there saying, I get it.
I get it. So here's Stanton now with a count 0-1.
Oh, that's it.
He called Mike out on a pitch just off the plate in his first time up fastball. He saw a lot of fastballs his first at bat. And now he gets the changeup.
Hamels having a terrific year ERA-wise, 3.06. His record at 10-10.
Yeah, the Marlins have gotten his pitch count up to 60, though.
Another changeup. Hamels strikes him out. 1-1 ball game going to the 4th here in South Florida. One ball game. Phillies and Fish. 4th inning. Trivia time. AT&T. Flip the phone. Who was Chase Utley's roommate at UCLA? Who was his roommate at UCLA?
Been some good major leaguers come out of UCLA.
Eric Karros was a UCLAer, wasn't he?
What about Chase Utley?
Well, he was his own roommate?
Yeah.
He had his own room? A trick question?
Trick question.
I like your thinking.
Let's see. A couple of guys I thought of were older.
Mendez hits Carlos Ruiz. And so a fastball that runs in, and Ruiz is aboard. Now you got Valdez and Cole Hamels.
Target a little bit off the plate. Yeah, that ball just ran in. No intent there.
And you're not going to hit a number 7 hitter in a 1-1 game in the 4th inning.
Yeah, even though Ruiz has hit the Marlins well.
Mendez with that slider for a strike, and it's 0-1. We got a note from Allen in Weaverville. Hamley, well, that worked out nicely. 6-3 double play. That was off the end of the bat. That's a double play. That would make it a Checkers double play.
Well, watch how this ball skips off the mound. Hanley still would have gotten it, but this made it a much easier hop for our Checkers double play of the game. And all of a sudden, 2 quick outs.
Here's Hamels now. He hit a line smash to center. He takes a fastball up. Weaverville in North Carolina. Remember, we had the question about where Weaverville was, if it was close to Jack McKeon. Apparently, it's not too close to Jack. It's up near Asheville, North Carolina, which is Cameron Maven's hometown.
Cameron Maven territory.
So our thanks to Allen for giving us the geography lesson. That is a beautiful place if you've ever have a chance. Asheville, North Carolina.
Hey, by the way, guys, Jack was listening the other night.
Ugla diving on his knees, throws him out. Now, Danny's made 2 great plays. You can tell by his uniform. This one gets Hamels. Marooney. At South Florida Ford. Visit southfloridaford.com for great offers. By Checkers, little place, big tastes. By Corona, kick back, relax with an ice cold Corona and lime. Enjoy Corona today. In South Florida, a rainy night tonight. 1-1 ball game. Phillies and Fish. Cole Hamels has had his scoreless inning streak snapped, but he is still sharp tonight. Wes Helms, Brad Davis, and Alberto Mendez, bottom third of the order for the Fish. In the bottom of the 4th, Hamels struck Helms out, and Davis for that matter, back in the 2nd inning. I pulled up a list of UCLA players in the big leagues. Fastball right in on his hands. Guys that played in and around Utley. There's an Eric Burns sighting on that list.
How about Eric Karros?
A Troy Gloss.
He's a little older.
Troy Gloss.
A little older.
A little older. Garrett Atkins. That was quick.
I think all those guys a little older, unless maybe they match up senior year, freshman year. Because Cole Hamels is 26. So even with the computer, we can't get this one right.
What if it was a basketball player, like a Cameron Dollar or somebody like that? He was Cameron Dollar was a little older. Tyus Edney, Ken Norman Jr., Ken Norton Jr. Excuse me, Norton.
I could go way back and say drop a Gail Goodrich or a Walt Hazard.
No, see, that was your era. Those were your heroes as basketball players growing up.
That's exactly right. I mean, as far as I was concerned, as a kid growing up in Southern California, UCLA won every year. National titles.
Davis takes outside. It's 2-1. It always seems, Tommy, that when Hamels tonight gets in a little trouble and loses the strike zone, the changeup gets him back to center.
Yeah, that's been his A pitch tonight.
Two. Struck him out. 3 consecutive strikeouts for Hamels. All right, let's see which Bruin.
I'm told we already said the name, so it's somebody out there that we said.
I'm going Eric Burns just for fun.
Yeah, I think
Garrett Atkins.
I think it would be fun to have room with Eric Burns, probably.
For about a day. And after about a day.
Crash test dummy.
That's. Mendez swings and misses. Adalberto Mendez singled in the second. Remember, in his first big league start, he got his first big league hit and hurt himself running to first. He jogged down to first after hitting one into left field. Here's the 0-2.
Yeah, and it really looked worse. It looked like he pulled a groin, pulled a quad muscle, when in fact it was really just a cramp up in that quad area.
1-2 coming. Fouled at the plate. But I'll tell you what, Cole Hamels, Phillies get to the postseason. They know they've got a guy that has been battle-tested in the postseason. Of course, he was the MVP of the National League Championship Series and the World Series in 2008. His career postseason numbers in 10 starts, 5-3 with a 3.86 ERA.
And it gives them a lefty in between the two talented righties, Halladay and Oswalt.
He's gone 2-2 on Mendez, and as you pointed out, his pitch count's up. This will be pitch number 75 coming. And we're only in the bottom of the 4th. Down goes Mendez. 4 consecutive strikeouts for Hamels. documentary series called Replay. Now, settling the score is one thing, and you can do it for the Marlins as well. How about a replay of a couple of great games? Which one would you like to see? Vote online at foxsportsflorida.com. The premiere of Season 3 of Replay is coming in November. You want that Donnie Murphy walk-off homer against Houston Street? Or do you want that first game in Puerto Rico that Dan Uggla won with a walk-off single? Shane Victorino is up for the Phillies. Two very different performances by the pitchers here tonight. Adalberto Mendez has struggled at times. He's walked 3. He has just a strikeout in this one. Flip the page, and Cole Hamels has 8 strikeouts and 1 walk. Victorino cranks one in the gap, right center. Stanton on the run, and it's over his head, and it bounces into the seats. An automatic double for Victorino. So the Phillies in business here in the 5th, and we're joined by Claude Delorme, who spends just about, 18 hours a day down at the stadium site?
A lot of time, Rich.
How did you find time to get up here?
No, it's great. I come back every night and then catch up to my emails and get ready for the next day that awaits us. So.
Well, speaking of emails, we have a lot of them that are just flowing through on the laptop. Our Claude Delorme file here. And so we'll piece through them. We'll get some stadium talk going as Placido Polanco stands in. He takes a breaking ball up. Brian in Weston. Sell out at the new stadium. How long will it take to exit from the top of one of the parking garages?
Yeah, one of the things that we discussed during the negotiations is a maximum of 45 minutes. So we're working certainly to stay well within that time frame. And we realize it's critical for people to leave the park and get back home as soon as possible with 81 home dates.
How many parking garages will there be? How many stories?
We'll have 4 parking structures, 6 surface lots. The 2 parking structures to the north will have 5 levels, and the 2 to the south will have 6 levels.
And as was designed, if you're a season ticket holder, you get to park in the garage that's closest to where you're going when you exit.
Yeah, absolutely. Either it'll be convenience, people arriving from work or from home, and we're talking 5,700 spaces that the team will control directly on site.
Gary in Boynton Beach wants to know, will the new ballpark require a tarp?
Yes, we will have a tarp. We'll be down the first baseline right now is where we're expecting to have it. Hopefully we'll never use it during games. And
but you may need it because you've got to open the roof to let the grass grow, right?
Absolutely, yeah. When the team's on the road, the roof will be open. The roof will be open 95% of the time. And the only time we'll consider closing it is related to an event.
So after games, let's say a game with the roof closed, then after the game, the roof will be open?
Yeah, we will open the roof, and if there's a chance of rain, we will put the tarp on at the end of that game.
Remy has an engineering question for you, and it's about the roof. And Polanco's on his way down to first. This is not good for the Fish. Runners first and second and nobody out. How is the roof to be constructed? Each of the 3 sections, will they be constructed and finished completely over the plaza where the current section is now? Or is each section to be partially completed, rolled over the field, and completed there?
Yes, that's a very good question. We're actually doing that right now. The one that's actually built that doesn't have the decking on it is getting ready to be moved just towards the center field area this week. We wanted to do it tonight at 5 o'clock, but the weather didn't permit it. So on Saturday it was removed from the shoring towers. Now it's hanging directly on the transporters. So tomorrow night at 5 p.m. we will try to move it to the east side. And we're working on the steel of the scoreboard and as well the fixed portion of the roof on the east side. So that's why we're not moving it completely to the east.
So how do you move it from one side to the next? Are the motors in yet, or is it tie a rope and everybody pull?
No, it's a very gradual process. You
have an animation there.
Yeah, I mean we're going to be moving it over 2 4-hour spans tomorrow and Thursday. and you know, the mechanization system is not in place, so it's more a manual process. But you know, it's basically it will take place over an 8-hour span. And what this allows us to do by moving it will allow us to start the western portion. And then once that's finished, they'll be pushed towards the center, and then we'll start with the centerpiece, which will be the biggest one. And then once those 3 are finished, then we'll do the decking for each one of them.
There's a look at the model down in the sales office.
Yeah, and when you look at it, I mean, this is our priority for the next 9.5 months.
Got that fastball in on Utley's hands. Stanton makes the catch, and a good strong throw hits the cutoff man.
A lot of people have asked how quickly will the roof open and close?
The roof will open and close in 13 minutes. Depending on the wind factor, it could impact by as much as 2 minutes. The operable wall, which is 240 feet by 60 feet high, will take 7 to 8 minutes to open and close.
And what will be the normal temperature inside with the roof closed on a hot summer afternoon?
75 degrees. You know, plus, you know, if someone's sitting in the last row at 125 feet from the field, which is the maximum height, you're probably talking a plus or minus 3 degrees differential.
We've had a few questions about naming rights and what the ballpark might be called. This gentleman, who didn't leave his name, is from Miami, is voting for the Bacardi name on the stadium for obvious reasons.
I'll drink to that one.
Yeah, listen, you know, we are meeting with several different groups, and we hope certainly to be in a position with our quadrants and our naming rights to announce some of them shortly. And you know, it's a priority for David and Brendan Cunningham on the corporate sales side. So they were working very hard at moving that process forward.
By the way, Rich, as we look at the monitor, we kind of thought the Hopper might be the starting pitcher tomorrow, but evidently he will not be, mainly because we're only in the 5th inning. And Mendez having trouble getting through this inning, and the pitch count starting to get up there for him, too.
He's up to 82. And as you pointed out earlier, Tommy, Mendez was a reliever all year and then got switched to a starter. So he's not used to getting up in the 100s, 110s.
And he's had some stressful innings, contrary to the game in Philadelphia.
It's a big strike to get against Howard. And he pulls that ground ball foul. It's 2-2. Seating capacity. Pablo in South Miami wants to know, what will the exact capacity be for seating and for standing room?
The total seating capacity will just be north of 37,000, so just over 36,000 fixed seats and 1,000 standing room. It will be smaller than Boston. It'll be the most intimate facility in baseball, so it'll be a great experience. I was looking at it; they're actually removing the shoring from the home run porch today, you know, over the last few days, and you're starting to see how intimate that area has become.
Runners go, and it's a ball, and Davis does not make a throw, and a double steal by Victorino and Polanco.
So watch the jump, both runners with tremendous jumps. Sometimes the catcher will try to get that backhand runner, but even Polanco got a good jump from first.
So a big pitch coming up here. Now the Marlins will move this shift over. Davis is going to go out and talk to Mendez. CJ in Fort Lauderdale has a green question for you. Any provisions for power conservation, solar panels, etc.? Who's going to monitor power consumption? Any other green aspects to the ballpark?
Yeah, this will be, you know, during the negotiations, all 3 parties, city, county, and the team, agreed to go to make sure that this was a silver LEED building in terms of certification. So we are looking at solar panels in terms of with FPL, and if we can strike the right balance and get the state some state funding, solar panels will be incorporated. But that's a work in progress for us now. But a lot of components on LEED, from waterless urinals to we have a lot of LEED accredited people working with us, and we meet once a month to really move that process forward. We're looking at a checklist with 42 credits, and we've already submitted 18 that have been approved by the USGBC. So,
all right, here comes the Hopper. And Edwin's going to make that move with the bases loaded and one out here in the 5th. Here's our Marooney. Called to the pen.
When you need a car, truck or van, who you gonna call? Marooney!
One out. Burke Badenhop in to face Jason Worth. And his first pitch is in there for a strike. Many thought Badenhop would start tomorrow, but Edwin Rodriguez told us, Tommy, if he has a chance to win a game, it's damn the torpedoes and bring in the relievers.
Absolutely right. The score here, 1-1, dictated bringing in Burke Badenhop. Different score, different situation. We would have seen others out of that bullpen and might have seen the Hopper tomorrow night as a starter. Not the case.
Victorino doubled. Polanco walked. Double steal there, and then a walk to Howard, and that was it for Mendez. Badenhop's 1-1 pitch. Another fastball for a strike. 1 for 7 is Worth in his career against Burke Badenhop. We'll jump right back into our stadium emails in a moment. Ground ball would be nice. You got Hanley and Ugla back looking for 2. Helms is deep at 3rd as well. That one fouled into the seats. All right, a quick one. Alejandro wants to know, stadium on schedule or behind schedule?
Stadium is on schedule, on budget, and glad to say that after 14 and a half months and 44% of our schedule has elapsed. So it's encouraging to be in that position.
1-2. That being said, when will opening day 2012 obviously is opening day 2012. When will the stadium be finished in terms of your schedule?
Right now our schedule is planned for March 31st, 2012. So anything we can do with the next month is critical with the hurricane season still here, and the next one even more pivotal. But if things work out well for us there, we'll hopefully gain some time.
The Phillies gain a run, the Marlins gain an out, and it's 2-1 on that slow chopper. Badenhop makes a good pitch. Worth gets an RBI, and the Phillies are back on top.
Now, generally, Claude, when a team opens up a new ballpark, that team begins the season on the road. Just to give you a few other days, will there be any exhibition games played there in the spring?
You know what? We're going to be in a position to assess it probably end of October of next year. What our final schedule is going to be, and then we can start looking at hosting some events, hopefully before our regular season starts. But ideally, we'd love to host some events before we officially start. And like I said, we'll be able to assess that properly in about a year from now.
Tommy, the Marlins here are walking Raul Ibanez to face the right-handed here. The problem is that right-handed hitter is the guy that's clobbered the fish this year at Carlos Ruiz.
You take your chances. This guy's a pretty good hitter too, Raul Ibanez, and hit around 500 his last 10 games. So you go with the percentages and you go after Ruiz, but not an easy customer to go after.
We have a fish tank question. Is the aquarium still in the plans behind home plate?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an outstanding signature piece for the new ballpark. Everyone watching a game on TV, looking at the on-deck hitter, will see the aquarium, and they will know that they're actually watching a game in Miami, and that was their goal in putting this project together.
So it won't be directly behind home plate, but more up towards the dugouts.
Yeah, on each side of home plate, you'll have the rotational signage directly behind, and on each side, we'll have 750 gallons of water.
Carlos Ruiz with a count 0-1. Hopper misses down low, 1 ball and 1 strike. How big will the HD scoreboard be? Kenny in Ohio wants to know.
Our main scoreboard's 51 by 101. Very similar in size to what the Nationals, people looking at a Nationals, the National scoreboard, it's comparable to that. Why it's going to stand out here, it's because our facility is much more intimate, and people are going to think that it's significantly bigger than that board, but in size it's identical, almost identical.
Walter, a Phillies fan, wants to know, will it be a hitter's park or a pitcher's park?
It's definitely a pitcher's ballpark. Larry, that was our first decision. We met with Larry and Mike, and they indicated that they wanted it to be a pitcher's ballpark, and that's how we got to the field dimensions that we have now.
So as intimate as the site is going to be, the footprint and the stands, the field itself will be more similar to this.
Yeah, very similar. When you look in left field, 344 versus 330. In right field, it'll be 335 versus 345. The fence height will be 11.5 feet to a maximum height of 13.5.
Struck him out inside corner. Hopper gets the call. The Phillies get a run and have a 2-1 lead. Anybody's guess at this point. Of course, Halladay threw the perfect game on this mound. Marlins Live starts it at 6:30. You can live forward with Just for Men hair color. Emilio Bonifacio leads it off. Cole Hamels takes down low.
Rich, I think it's one of those starts tomorrow that everybody comes to the clubhouse. Edwin checks in with all the pitchers and goes, okay, who's ready?
Bonifacio pushes a bunt, and Howard gets there, picks it up before it goes foul, and tags Bonifacio out. That's a nice play by Ryan Howard. Claude Delorme, the Vice President of Stadium Development, is with us. A variety of email questions. One wants to know about Tri-Rail and to the new stadium. How do you get from Tri-Rail to the new ballpark?
Yeah, we're talking to the city and the county, and Culmer Station and Civic Station, which are about a mile away, and we're looking at trying to have an express route from those tri-rail directly to the ballpark. So we have actually a meeting tomorrow to discuss it further with the city and county representatives. But this is part of a committee that we meet once a month to talk about our transportation plan.
Express route with buses.
Yeah, in terms of buses, we'll have buses waiting at those stations, and people coming out to the ballpark will be able to get on the bus, and they'll go directly from Culmer or Civic Station directly to the ballpark. We'll define a route that brings them to that area as quickly and as safely as possible.
Have you at any time during this process picked up the phone and called people in cities that have just built ballparks in the last 3, 4, 5 years with problems or issues or questions?
Yeah, we do that on an ongoing basis when we're talking to various executives from other teams. We definitely talk. We had the opportunity to go to Minnesota earlier in the year. Talked about the elements that went well, their transition to a new ticketing system, and some of the errors that they made, decisions that they made that impacted their operations. So it's ongoing, and we do that several times a year. And that's the only way. When you can learn from people that have just done it, and visiting ballparks and seeing what worked and what didn't work, it really makes the whole process a lot easier.
And they've done a pretty good job, Minnesota, not only with that ballpark, but their team is on the way to postseason.
Impressive. They did extremely well. They sold over 1 million tickets and season tickets in their last 6 months before the ballpark opened. So very impressive, and worked well together.
Full count here with one out to Logan Morrison. Craig Minervini has a question. We'll get it after this Morrison AB, unless we get a foul ball. Pulls a ground ball into right field. That's a base hit. And Lomo is aboard. So that's 34 consecutive games where he's reached base. That's the longest active streak in baseball. The longest streak this year, Mark Teixeira, 42.
And he's also hit in 12 of his last 13. And you mentioned he got a double against Hamels in Philadelphia. A base hit here, and Hamels coming into this game has been holding lefties to a 184 batting average. So he's tough.
All right, Craig, go away. Your floor.
Thank you, Rich. Claude, so many times you get rain before the game, batting practice time, but then it's clear, no rain afterward. If it's a comfortable night, do you ever foresee roof closed for batting practice, but then maybe open early season, maybe even September? Tonight's a comfortable night.
Yeah.
If there was no rain coming.
Absolutely. We're going to make the decision. If we plan on closing it 3 hours before, so we can cool the building and make sure that everyone's comfortable from the time they arrive at the ballpark. But if there's a change, if there's a chance of rain, and then it dissipates after BP, we would definitely open the roof. It takes us 13 to 14 minutes, so that decision can be made very quickly. And again, it's all about the comfort of our fans, and the view of downtown is such a strong signature piece of the new ballpark. We want to take advantage of it when the opportunity presents itself.
There are a lot of comfortable nights here. I think we forget that sometimes living in South Florida. Even tonight, it's very comfortable.
Yeah,
here it's a little breeze.
Absolutely, and in April and May, you do get that opportunity to do that for most of our evening games. And again, the view of downtown is so spectacular. We want to give that opportunity. I think it adds to the fans' experience.
And Claude, as it is with other stadiums with retractable roofs, Houston, Seattle, Toronto, opening and closing the roof during a game, the umpires have a hand in that decision as well, don't they?
Yeah, Houston has done it for a long time, and I know that at one point it was being questioned. It's something that we're going to submit a plan probably late next year on the factors that will play into that decision and submit it to baseball for their approval. And at this point, if the opportunity presents itself, what we'd like to do is really, if it is closed during the game, there's no chance of rain late in the game, we'd like to open it so we can provide shelter to the plaza area and have live entertainment and music and make it a really fun setting for people to extend their visit at the ballpark.
Doug in Hollywood wants to know, foul territory, more or less than this ballpark?
Certainly less. I mean, it's such a tight venue. I was looking at, just from the dugouts to home plate, the proximity is incredible. I'm trying to equate it to any other ballpark, and I need to do some research there, but my guess is there won't be anything like it.
Claude, thank you for the visit. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
And thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks,
Claude.
Thanks, guys.
He emptied the email box. Just look at that. In town, Gilberto Santa Rosa, the concert fireworks spectacular presented by AT&T, and a Marlins Latin cowbell can be yours courtesy of Metro Ford. Burke Badenob now facing Wilson Valdez, then Cole Hamels, then top of the order Shane Victorino. The Marlins getting 4 1/3 out of Adalberto Mendez. Badenob came in and got the final 2 outs of the 5th. Ground ball wide of third and into left field. Valdez has himself a base hit, and that sets up nicely for Hamels, who can try to bunt him up to second.
And, Rich, herein lies the problems that the Marlins have put on themselves with a shortage of pitching, number one, starting pitching. But last night, Andrew Miller just 5 innings and giving up 9 hits, 7 runs, 5 earned runs. And then tonight, Adalberto Mendez just 4 1/3. So when that happens from your starters, all the pressure goes on that bullpen.
It's a fair ball. Davis throws to first.
Boy, his first thought, and he would have had him, had he gotten a better grip on the ball. He had the right notion to go to second to get Valdez, and he would have had him. But he just couldn't get the good grip on the ball and had to settle for the out at first base. Watch BD. Watch Brad Davis. There he is. He looks at second. He's ready to go, but just didn't have the ball in the proper holding spot in his hand.
So now you got Victorino and Polanco. Badenhop misses outside. Well, the good news for the Marlins is that all the guys that were off limits last night, 2 of the 3 are back on with Viveras and Hensley. Ullman is still a question
mark. But you're going to need everybody tomorrow night.
Amen. But right now, the Marlins are in a spot where they have a chance to win this game. And so, like we talked about, and as Edwin told both of us, if he has a chance to win the game, it's worry about tomorrow. Good pitch. 2-1.
I just think it's too bad he hasn't gotten any help as far as a starter. I mean, Brett Sinkville is up here, but he's a relief pitcher. And Edwin doesn't need another relief pitcher. He needs somebody to start a game tomorrow night.
And it goes further than tomorrow night. I mean, if you think about the next 2.5 weeks, if the Marlins are going to get what they've been getting from Andrew Miller, Mendez tonight goes just 4 1/3 innings.
They got the series over the weekend against the Cubs. Alex Sanabia will be ready to pitch. He'll be off of his suspension. He'll pitch Friday. Sanabia against Ryan Dempster. Dempster had a good year for the Cubs. And then Anibal Sanchez against Casey Coleman, a righty. And Andrew Miller against Jeff Smarja.
That's right, Smarja's in that rotation right now. Breaking ball, and Hopper missed down low. So that's going to bring up Polanco now. Runners at first and second.
Well, a lot of walks tonight. Mendez walked 5, hit a batter. Hopper's walked 2, one of those intentional. So the Phillies have gotten a lot of free passes. They have struggled. They haven't been able to open up this game because they have not gotten a hit with runners in scoring position. They're 0 for 8.
Pitch to Polanco, and it's inside. An emailer, David, has a question on the topic that you were just talking about. Have you heard anything about Tom Kohler or Eli Villanueva being called up, especially for tomorrow's spot start?
I have not, and they're pitching in the playoffs for Jacksonville.
Ground ball, foul ball.
The other thing, Rich, that we don't know all the ins and outs. It makes it a little more difficult to bring guys like that or either of those guys up. Neither is on the 40-man roster.
Yep.
So to bring them up, you've got to make room on that 40-man roster, and that might mean taking somebody off the roster, as what happened to Chris LaRue, put on waivers, picked up by the Pirates, and so it's much more complicated than most of us think.
See, Jacksonville is down 5-0 in game 1 of that best of 5. You're right. Neither are on the 40-man roster, and you expose whoever you take off the 40-man to waivers. Hopper misses away, and it's 2-1.
As a matter of fact, Chris LaRue is pitching for the Pirates tonight in a blowout game in New York against the Mets. That's with a 9-0 lead over the Pirates. Another R.A. Dickey start for the Mets.
2-1 coming. Little breaking ball, and the count goes 2-2. Hall, a Phillies fan from Shrewsbury, watching on MLB.TV. Garrett Atkins, the answer to the trivia question, the fact that he was Chase Utley's roommate, also pointing out that Atkins was Chase Utley's best man in his wedding as well. Welcome aboard, Paul.
Yeah, we like those. Might get a Crackstaff T-shirt down the road. That's a nice little bit of information.
Liner in a right center. Stanton got a good jump, makes a running catch. And Valdez was not tagged up, so he's still at second. 2 outs.
We have seen Mike Stanton make some nice plays just in this series. He laid out on a ball, and Rob Victorino last night got a terrific jump on that one. Cut off that gap and was able to pull it down and keep everybody status quo on the bases.
Here is Utley now, and Badenhop has to get another tough out to keep it at 2-1. Utley has flied out twice and walked, and he takes outside.
This is one of those innings. Sometimes you get through an inning like this, it gives you a little momentum. The Phillies with a big opportunity to maybe add on. If Hopper can shut it down, gives you a little momentum when you go back to hit.
Infield is shifted over for Utley. No swing.
Wow, I'd like to see this one again. Well, I beg to differ.
I think the Marlins dugout is differing as well. It is a big call. Instead of a 1-2 count, it's a 2-1 count. Ryan Howard is on deck.
Well, it's almost pick your poison. Utley or Howard.
Utley back to Hopper, who flips to first and gets out of the inning.
And that's why we love the Hopper.
He is the king of the comebackers. Hopper gets out of the sixth. It's still a one-run game. Phillies on top.
About 45 minutes talking casually with Charlie Manuel today, and I'll tell you what, Charlie spent about a half an hour talking about Mike Stanton, gushing. And when Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, came over, he said, have you seen Mike Stanton hit BP? Did you see that shot he hit last night, that one? Charlie called it the longest line drive he's probably ever seen and stayed in the ballpark, and the hardest hit, one of the hardest hit he's ever seen. But he gushes about his BP. He said, I watch him take BP, and the way he hits those low line drives, where he goes after balls, and they don't start tailing off. He said that's when you know you have a good BP guy. And he said I'd pay to watch him play. I really enjoy watching him. He mentioned also that we aired on our pregame that he talked to the high school coach that Mike had in California. He met him at an RBI conference in the afternoon a couple of weeks ago in Los Angeles, and that coach said he's had many major leaguers come through the program. Nobody more impressive than Mike Stanton. We're going to have more with Charlie tomorrow. We're going to talk to him on Marlins Live. But I tell you what, guys, you could not have a guy gushing over another player as much as Charlie did. He loves power, as he did on Mike Stanton.
Yeah, you're right, Craig, and it should be an entertaining interview. Charlie always is.
Well, and as we talked about last night, Charlie's been around when he was a hitting coach with the Indians, a lot of terrific young hitters.
Hamels certainly didn't have the grip on that breaking ball. He threw one over Ruiz's head. That one was high.
There's a good chance this is going to be his last inning. He's at 93 pitches now.
3-1 coming to Gabby.
And the go-to pitch, changeup.
All night long.
Yep.
Whenever he has lost the place, he gets it back with that pitch.
And that really plants a seed for the next pitch because you still have to be ready for that fastball. But you get the changeup.
Gabby fouls it back, and the count's 3-2. Hamels deserves better than 10-10 with his ERA hovering right at 3 this year. Changeup struck him out. That's a gorgeous pitch.
That's 9 strikeouts for Cole Hamels, who was drafted in the first round out of Rancho Bernardo High School outside of San Diego. Didn't even pitch his junior year in high school. He had a broken arm. I think things have healed nicely.
17th overall pick was Hamels. He has struck out Stanton twice. And that pitch right there has given Mike the most trouble, that changeup.
This is a tough matchup. I know he doubled off Hamels in Philly, but it's a real tough matchup for him. Mainly because Hamels has such tremendous command of both the fastball and the changeup. He's got 2 pitches to get you out.
Let's see if that was a show-me fastball followed by a changeup.
Ooh, that's a strike. But because Ruiz was set up outside, the ball came back. It is borderline. See, now he hadn't called that pitch most of the night, Gibson.
Here's the 2-2. Stanton got a break, and then Hamels comes back and strikes him out. So Cole Hamels now with 10 strikeouts in the ball game.
He's been on the mark tonight.
And Wes Helms comes up. Philly fan email, Tommy. First, let me say how great it is that you guys take emails on the air. Wish that the Phillies would do the same. Tommy Hutton is one of his favorite Phillies growing up back in the 70s. Lastly, about the new stadium in South Florida. Don't want to rain on the parade. But will the Marlin fan base fill the stadium up? That hit Helms. And Helms is aboard. It's going to bring up Brad Davis. Do you think the fan base will continue to show up once the newness of the ballpark has worn off?
Yeah, I think time will tell. I wish I could give you a definitive answer. I think if the Marlins stay as competitive as they have been and continue to improve with young players and are in the hunt all the time, I think fans will come out. That's what they want.
But I think, and you know, fans in a lot of cities with new ballparks can attest that unless you are competitive, it doesn't matter how nice your stadium is.
You know, and Philly fan, they weren't packing them in the vet in the 70s either. You know, you got to that new ballpark and things changed. So hopefully things will change for the Marlins as well.
Well, the Phillies timed it great. When they got to the new ballpark, they were a good team. Larry Bowa was the skipper. They were winning mid to high 80s, but not getting to the postseason. And then once Charlie took over, they finally got to the postseason. And it's been nuts ever since there with all the sellouts. What was it, 114 consecutive when we left town?
When we left, yeah. And they came in with a group of talented young players, as the Marlins will do the same.
So that's a perfect storm in Philly. You got this great team and that great ballpark. Davis swings and misses. Cole Hamels devastating tonight on the mound. 11 strikeouts. 2-1. Tito and Cookie tonight. Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you?
Richie, how are you?
Hey, it's Email Tuesday. We have an email for you, Cookie, from Tom, an original fan from Fort Lauderdale. Way back in '94, when you were coaching for Renee Latchman, he worked with Frank Rehberger, the bullpen coach, later the pitching coach. Does he ever hear from Frank? Because Rehberger's son, Justin, was in Tom's third grade class.
Really?
Yeah.
In third base? I mean, third grade?
Third grade. Do you ever hear from Frank? Where is Frank Rehberger these days?
No, I have no idea where he is at in baseball. I really don't know whether he's retired, he's still in it, or I have no idea whatsoever. I haven't had any kind of communication with him at all.
Cookie, that's why we have a crack staff, and they will research that. How do you say crack staff in Spanish, by the way?
Oh, my God.
Crack staff? Dibujo? De pizarra?
I need a lifeline for that one.
I need a lifeline. Hey, Cookie, we saw Cookie having a nice conversation with the general manager of the Phillies, Ruben Amaro, and also Ruben Amaro Sr.
Well,
that had to bring back a few memories, huh?
Absolutely. We were talking about the old times, and of course, you know, Junior was there in diapers, you could say, when we were playing, and great family that he had, and he's done a great job in baseball with the Phillies and as a general manager. And Ruben Amaro and I, you know, played together for many years.
That's right.
Not only here in the National League, but also in winter ball, and it was great. Yeah, I mean, he was one of the best shortstops that I played with in my career, and it's great to see both of them doing well.
You play with some good ones, Cookie. All right, guys, have a good show tonight.
Thank
you.
All
right, guys, you too.
Brian Howard with a count 1-2 took that breaking ball from Jose Veras. And a little tapper up the line and foul. The count stays at 1-2. Howard, Worth, Ibanez in the seventh in a ball game in which the Marlins got 4 1/3 out of Adalberto Mendez, and then an inning and 2/3 scoreless from Burke Badenhop.
And I think this is the way Edwin's trying to map it out. He's in a close game, so okay, he's going to Veras for the seventh inning, but by taking the Hopper out, and the Hopper could have pitched another inning, but by taking him out, it allows him to at least maybe use the Hopper for an inning or two tomorrow night. And even though he's thinking about this game here, he gets Jose Veras in a comfortable spot for him the seventh inning.
I think the other thing that's probably going through Edwin's mind with the Hopper as well is that sometimes Hopper is best served going once through the lineup rather than twice through the lineup. And he's getting to the point here with Worth on deck. Worth was the first guy that he faced back in the fifth. And Howard strikes out on a Veras breaking ball. Davis tags him out.
The other thing, too, Rich, the Hopper, as we've seen, is we saw some starts, 10 career starts. Better out of the bullpen. In his 10 career starts, Hopper has an ERA of close to 7 and a 2-3 record. So always a little bit better out of the bullpen. That's a good niche that he's found, and he's going to stay around a long time doing that.
Speaking of bullpens, I don't see anybody throwing in the Phillies' pen. Hamels is at 107 pitches, and it looks like Charlie's going to try to milk another inning out.
Try to squeeze one more. He's tied his season high with 11 strikeouts. His career high is 15 strikeouts back in 07 in Cincinnati.
Worth drove in a run on a slow tapper back in the fifth. Had that ground ball been hit a little harder, that could have been an inning-ending double play.
Or at least in a little different area, West could have come to the plate with it. But his only play was to first base because Victorino was the runner at third, and he got a good jump.
Veras thought he had a strike. Let's take a look on Fox Tracks. Wow. That's a strike. So, he comes back with a good breaking ball and evens the count at 2-2.
Rich, you called the Hopper when that inning-ending chopper back to him. He made the out, the king of the 1-3 putouts. He has had 12 1-3 putouts this year.
King of the comeback. He went around. Worth on his way down to first. And there are 2 outs. Veras has struck out both that he's faced. Let's freeze something. Our Coors Light freeze cam. This is the Ugla play. Look at that. First of 2 great plays to look at. That was the one where he got Hamels. That's the Coors Light freeze cam.
That's the plays you'd like all those to see, who continue to put Dan Ugla in that small compartment and say he's a lousy second baseman. You know, he's just the guy who hits home runs. And I think we get the opportunity to see him night in and night out. And, yeah, he has his plays that he doesn't make as well. He goes much better to his left. A little more trouble going up the middle. But he hangs in there and double plays, makes the turn pretty well, and certainly goes to his left tremendously.
The other play that Ugla made, very similar to that one, he was further out on the outfield grass. It was against Ryan Howard back in the first. Both times he had to throw from his knees. 0-2 coming. Oh, breaking ball. Veras thought he had a strikeout. Let's see what Foxtrax says. May have been out. It was just out and just low. Count 1-2.
By the way, at last check, Frank Rehberger was a pitching coach for the 7-Eleven Lions in Taiwan. So that's probably why Cookie's lost track.
That's not how you say crack staff in Spanish. Staffo de Craco. That does not work, Tommy Hutton. Gabby steps on
We'll
the
come
bench.
up with something.
2-1, Phillies.
Offense has been kind of unique. This is one of the better hit balls tonight, a double by Polanco, and that put the Phillies up 1-0. And then a little squibber off the bat of Dan Ugla tied it. Marlins were able to come back quickly and tie it 1-1. And then it's been Cole Hamels. Hamels with fastballs and changeups primarily has a season-high 11 strikeouts. He's thrown 107 pitches. Phillies took the lead on a little fielder's choice. Ground ball hit by Jason Worth, bringing home Victorino. That's been the offense. It's a 2-1 lead for Philadelphia, and Hamels is back out there for the 7th inning.
Visit LandRoverUSA.com. Hector Luna is going to hit for the pitcher to lead off the 7th. Then you've got Bonifacio and Morrison. Marlins really shorthanded on the bench, and that sounds odd to say in any September game for any team, but they really are. With the absence of Cameron Maben, he's ill and not at the ballpark. In terms of right-handed pinch hitters, the Marlins have Hector Luna and Mike Rivera.
And Rivera, you got to kind of hold back because he's your other catcher. And then two lefties, and Scott Cousins and Chad Tracy.
We saw it again. He was behind 2-0, throws a changeup, gets a strike.
The frustrating thing is if you and I see that, if you're watching from the bench, you're watching from the on-deck circle, and you've watched for 6 innings, you have to see that too.
Here's the 2-2. That's in. Hamels has just been overpowering in this one. There's Durbin in the bullpen. 11 strikeouts, just 1 walk.
I think what Charlie Manuel would love to see Hamels do is get by Luna, Bonifacio, and Morrison, left-handed hitter. If the Marlins somehow continue this inning beyond Logan Morrison, then we may see the right-hander Chad Durbin.
3-2. There's the changeup, and Luna was on it enough to at least get a piece of it. Been a struggle for Hector, trying to find at-bats, trying to find his stroke. When you don't start and you just get an at-bat every other night, he's just 2 for 21. We talk so much about the injuries to Josh Johnson and Ricky Nolasco, and those are devastating injuries. Your 2 top starters going out. But one of the injuries that it really hurts the Marlins and has hurt them over the last 2 weeks is the wrist injury to Donnie Murphy.
Donnie Murphy would have gotten a lot of playing time.
Yes, he would have.
And added that little spark when he was in there.
3-2 again. Fastball, that's a dozen now for Hamels. On Email Tuesdays, we get all kinds of emails. We always pick out an angry email. Why do you insist on giving players cute nicknames? Badenhop is not Hopper. Morrison is not Lomo. We're tired of it. Charles, we got news for you, and we appreciate your email, and thanks for watching. We're not the guys that give them the nicknames.
We just keep our ears open in the clubhouse.
I don't think we have ever given a player a nickname. Broadcasters don't give them nicknames. Those nicknames exist. Those are the nicknames that their teammates, that their managers, that their coaches, that their friends call them.
Now, we hear many times players and coaches and the manager will refer to Bonifacio as Bonnie.
Well, you know what? I got to confess. Because my producer, John Sulzer, and our audio man, Mark Butler, just pointed out that I did kind of make up Donnie Bleep and Murphy, but that was a spur-of-the-moment thing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That was in the heat of the
moment.
Yeah, it was the second walk-off in like 3 days.
Why, were the guys in the clubhouse referring to him as that?
No, they had not called him Donnie Bleep and Murphy. But many fans now have picked up on it. Bonifacio fouls it into the seats.
Well, a career high for Hamels is 125. He's at 120. And that was in 08 in a game against Atlanta.
Hamels stopped his windup.
You got to figure he's going to go beyond that because he's going to stay in to pitch to Logan, not Lomo. Logan.
2-2. Bonifacio goes down. 13 strikeouts for Hamels.
This is what you have to tell yourself. You're the Marlins. You have to say, this guy is out there. He has 13 strikeouts. He has been magnificent, but he only has a 1-run lead. And you have to look at it that way. You're in the game against the guy who's been dominating you on the mound.
So he's approaching that career high in strikeouts. 13 now.
It's interesting, the pitch that is like his third pitch, his breaking ball, he's used a little more to Morrison. He hadn't had the same command as he has with the others. That was that cutter there. It kind of moves away from Morrison. And I'm afraid to say Lomo.
Why? Because you think the angry emailer's coming after you? Or?
Nah. There's that changeup.
He gets a strike with it. Evens the count at 2-2.
That's a good one.
13 strikeouts for Cole Hamels tonight. His 2-2 pitch to Logan Morrison. That's in, and the count full now, 3-2. Strikeouts, 126 pitches. Hanley is on deck. Lost him. And Morrison walks. Let's see if Hamill stays out there to face Hanley.
I guess not. Now, here comes Charlie. Logan Morrison and Dan Ugla, the only two hitters that did not strike out tonight against Hamels.
13 strikeouts, 2 walks. Maroney called to the pen.
Truck or van, we gonna call Maroney.
Performer of the game, no doubt about it. It's Cole Hamels, as he was splendid against the Fish tonight.
Yeah, just a great mix. I mean, he spotted that fastball enough that he would keep the hitters honest. The go-to pitch for him tonight was his changeup. But I think he was equal with the fastball and changeup in his strikeouts. And when he went up with the fastball and elevated it, and if you were thinking changeup, he would be able to throw it by you. Now it's Chad Durbin. Durbin comes on to face the righty. And you kind of had this figured out. That's why Charlie Manuel had him loosening up. So Hanley gets to face Durbin. See a little different assortment. Fastballs, curves, and sliders.
First pitch misses outside. 2 for 9 is Hanley against Durbin in his career. Tonight, a 1 for 3 night. Tying runs at first. Outfield very deep, especially Ibanez in left, who was nearly on the warning track.
Well, trying to play deep so if they have to, they can cut a ball off and keep Logan Morrison scoring from first base.
Count 2-0. Uggla's on deck. That's a backup slider that backed up too much, and it ended up inside. It's 3-0 now. Let's see if he throws a fastball. Let's see if Hanley has a rip. Not a fastball.
Got the off-speed pitch.
Three and one. Morrison will be moving now on a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs. Big game for the Phillies here tonight. The Washington Nationals just finished shutting out Atlanta in Atlanta. 6-0 the final there. So Atlanta falls back a game and a half. If the Phillies win this game, it's a 2-game lead in the East. Logan Morrison at first. The gem of a night from Cole Hamels. Durbin trying to finish the 7th for Hamels, who went 6 2/3, struck out 13 Marlins, walked a couple, and the Fish have just 5 hits. Runner goes, Hanley hammers it right at Valdez, and the inning is over. So Durbin gets that out, and we go to the 8th. 2-1. Two-1 Phillies on top in the 8th. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced, retransmitted in any form. Counts and description to this game, like that first pitch fastball that misses outside, may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. That would be Leo Nunez, the 4th reliever, or the 3rd reliever to work, the 4th pitcher to work. He pops this one up. Helms crosses over into foul territory and makes the catch. Let's check in with Craig Minervini.
Rich, last Tuesday we got some questions on the customary putting the rookies in some kind of costume in a public forum, and so we ran that feature once again on our pregame, a little flashback. And there's Uggla the Rat, JJ the Bananas, the end of the 2008 season. Hermita's there, Barbie is Chris Volstad. Coming onto the subway, the Rat, the Grape was Olsen. And then on the subway in costume, they went to Grand Central. There's Captain America John Baker, whose mother told us he enjoys dressing up in costumes. That fan was talking to Ugla, who's a good baseball fan. And I said, "You know who that is?" And he didn't know. I said, "Well, he's an all-star second baseman." He goes, "That's Ugla?" He goes, "You look like Ugla." Nobody knew who these guys were walking through the streets in costume. It was a lot of fun for the guys. And I think we had, about 16, 17 guys in costume that year. Because the guys who did not get that little hazing in their rookie year also were involved in 08, like J.J. and Ugla, who had been in the league a few years.
Here is Leo Nunez to the plate. Well, Craig, that was a memorable subway ride for sure. And I think we have to clarify John Baker's mom's comments that he liked to dress up in superhero costumes, not just costumes. So,
yeah, I think the guy who had the most fun was Luis Gonzalez.
He and Paul LaDuca were kind of the guys behind it.
Yeah.
The brilliant thing, well, of the many brilliant things that Gonzo did, was he hired a film crew from New York University to film the whole thing and then posted it on YouTube.
And who was the king, the Burger King king?
That was Ricky Nolasco.
And Ricky, they made in that costume go into McDonald's and order something to eat.
Full count with Nunez facing Wilson Valdez. You got Ross Glode on deck. That one missed inside. Marlins need Nunez to get through this eighth and keep it close. It's been a work in progress with Randy St. Clair. After Nunez was removed from the closer role, he was charged with learning how to pitch, going out there, not just throwing the 96-mile-an-hour fastball wherever it ends up and throwing that power changeup wherever it ends up, learning pitch sequence, learning location. Now Glode, the grizzled veteran, takes a strike.
And not a good sequence in pitching to Valdez. That's a guy you want to go after, makes good pitches to, get a couple outs. But now with him at first base, Charlie Manuel goes to his bench with Glode.
Ground ball up the middle. Ugla backhands, flips to Hanley. Got one there. Low throw. Dug out by Gabby. Nicely done. Ugla to Hanley. With some help from Gabby Sanchez. Nice pitch by Nunez. And a very brief top of the eighth for the Phillies.
Of guys who go back quite a ways, Bill Beck and Jack McKeon in their Omaha Royals days in the minor leagues in the Kansas City organization.
They just had a big reunion of that team.
Yeah, Jack, of course, manager. Boomer, Bill Beck, aspiring young broadcaster at that time.
Boomer would go on to broadcast some games with the Royals and has been the Marlins director of team travel.
What would we do without the Boomer?
Ryan Madsen in the ball game. he of the very good changeup, and he's got a couple other plus pitches too. He's had a solid year, 5-2, an ERA of 2.5. And look at the opponent's batting average, bottom of the screen. Ugla, Gabby Sanchez, Mike Stanton.
You can see why the Phillies have had success. The Marlins have won just 5 out of the 16 games. They have some guys who feature a good changeup. We saw Blanton last night. Hamill certainly tonight. Madsen has a good one. And to a free swinging club, that's a tough pitch.
This is lower Toyota trend. In Marlins history, 35 second baseman. Dan Ugla's at 151 homers. The others, just 72.
I guess the question would be, who is second on that list? I would say Kurt Abbott or Brett Barbary.
Both good guesses.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Louis.
It's not Louis.
It is Louis. He's got 20. Check swing. Did he go? Did not go. And Ugla may have gotten a break on that one, much like Utley did earlier in the ballgame.
Yeah, we saw Utley. Let's see if Utley took it out this far. About the same.
About the same. Gabby's on deck. Ugla trying to get on base. Marlins need a run. Down 1 here in the bottom of the 8th. Fastball, and Ugla just fouled it back.
There's that 95-mile-an-hour heater that keeps you honest to go along with that good changeup.
When the Marlins were in Philadelphia, Brad Lidge was on the shelf.
Yeah, he's okay now.
Marlins saw Madsen at the end of ball games.
Yeah, Lidge had a little tenderness in his elbow.
Let's see what Madsen gives him. 3-2. Fastball. Ugla lines it into right field. That's a base hit. Worth on his heels. Ugla's got a base hit. Marlins have a runner aboard. Here comes Gabby Sanchez. On an email Tuesday night, our angry emailer did not like us using the nicknames of Lomo or the Hopper. Scott from Alaska has an issue with that angry emailer. Nicknames go way back. Would that emailer have preferred to hear, now batting, George Herman Ruth?
That's right. In this day and age when they say there are no good nicknames, and there are plenty of them.
We have another nickname email from Matt in Pembroke Pines. Pitch to Gabby, and he fouls it off. Next time the angry emailer sees Logan Morrison at the plate, have your cameraman zoom in on his batting gloves, because on his batting gloves it says Lomo.
We have observant fans.
It's been a tough stretch for Gabby. And it counts now 0-2. He was 2 for 15 in Philadelphia in that series. 1 for 4 last night with a couple of strikeouts. 0 for 2 tonight with a strikeout.
Kind of got disrupted in that Washington series, serving his 3-game suspension. Here's the irony of all that suspension stuff. Gabby has already served his. By the time the weekend comes around, Alex Sanabia and Chris Volstad will have served theirs, and Niger Morgan plays on.
He was 1 for 4 tonight, Tommy. Pitch down low. Gabby holds up, and the count's 2-2.
Ruiz doing a good job on those last 2 changeups that have been in the dirt.
For a little catcher, he covers a lot of ground and blocks a lot of balls. Check swing. Did not go. Brian Knight down at first base. Now the count's full.
What do you think? Nobody out. Is Dan Uggla going to stay put, or will he be on the move on this 3-2 pitch?
Now that swing was not as extreme as Utley or Uggla's.
I think he'll be on the move. Got to take a few chances. Down a run. Bullpen's thin.
Uggla away from first. Not running. Gabby a broken bat. Utley going out, and he's there and makes the catch. Mike Stanton comes up. Mike Stanton, of course, started his year in Double-A, and his teammates
needed him tonight.
Now down 1-0 in that best of 5 series. The Smokies with a 5-0 win. Fastball right down the middle.
I think one of the best quotes I heard all year was from Mike's manager in Jacksonville, Tim Leeper. He said if Mike makes a mistake, he doesn't make it again.
Quick fastball in on his hands, and it's 0-2. JM Lexus presents leaders of the game, current hit streaks, Stanton, Spilborghs, and Young. Now Madsen has Stanton thinking about it now because he's thrown 2 fastballs at him. He's got a 0-2, and he's got that great changeup.
Yeah, and he struck out 3 times tonight already. Hamels really had him tied up.
Changeup, got him. Chad Tracy's in a pinch hit here. Chad, the start last night. Howard holding Uggla at first. That right side is open a bit. Changeup misses out. It's 1-0.
Now the Marlins struck out 10 times last night, and they have struck out 14 times so far tonight.
That one fouled into the seats. Now the Phillies do have some left-handed relievers. The guy that in years past Charlie has called upon, J.C. Romero, is in a terrible slump. If you can say that about a pitcher as you do a hitter. Romero has appeared in 3 consecutive games without retiring a batter.
Now remember, he brought him in a couple of times to face Morrison in Philadelphia. And each time he walked him, I don't think he threw him a strike.
2-1 pitch coming to Chad Tracy. Count evens at 2-2. Brad Davis is on deck. If you've just joined us, Cole Hamels was smoking tonight. 13 strikeouts through 127 pitches. Phillies bullpen has come in since. Chad Durbin finished the 7th. This is Ryan Madsen here in the 8th. Phillies got a run in the 1st. Marlins got a run in the 1st. Phillies took the lead 2-1 in the 5th. And they knocked Adalberto Mendez out of the game. Tracy works a full count now. So that will give Uggla a head start with 2 outs. See Brad Davis on deck.
Well, let's see. The go-to pitch for Hamels was the changeup. Let's see if that holds true with Madsen. And the tough part, he's got that 95-mile-an-hour heater to go along with it.
In the dirt.
Went with the changeup.
Here comes Davis, and it's been a long night for him as well. He has struck out 3 times.
Yeah, if you just look at the 6, 7, and 8 hitters, Wes Helms, Stanton, Helms, and Davis, you've got 9 strikeouts amongst that crew.
First pitch fastball, strike.
The other bit of bad news, Rich, the area in which the Phillies have been just tremendous this year, they lead the National League in 1-run wins. They're 25 and 15 in 1-run games.
Little roller out towards Utley. Has it and gets Davis. And Madsen gets through the 8th. Leads 2 out there. It's still 2-1. Family Sunday wraps up the Cubs series on Sunday at 1:10. First 5,000 fans get a Dan Uggla poncho courtesy of Lauderdale Infinity. Kids can run the bases in the Diamond Dash after the game. 1-877 Marlins. 9th inning has arrived. Edwin has done a nice job of piecing this together. He got a short start from Mendez, who went 4 1/3. Badenhop an inning and 2/3, and then scoreless innings from Veras and Nunez. And here is Hensley. Clay comes on in the 9th, and he gets the top of the order for the Phillies. Victorino, Polanco, and Utley.
Tracy stays in the game at 3rd, and you're right. So far, the bullpen has gone 3 2/3 in this one, and not allowed a run.
Victorino has been on base 3 times tonight. He's doubled, singled, walked, and flied out. Pulls a ground ball. Uggla goes and gets that big hop, and Hensley gets the first out. Clay Hensley had quite a weekend in our nation's capital. He had never saved a game in his professional career. Minor leagues, big leagues. Friday night he got his first opportunity. Saturday night his second.
Second one was a 4-out save.
And then Sunday his 3rd, and he saved all 3 games.
Friday night was. And Sunday, I know you and I commented because it was his 3rd game in a row. Might not have had the same velocity, but he was pitching. He was using his other pitches to get outs.
Yeah, he didn't have that 90-mile-an-hour fastball. There's Lidge in the Phillies pen. Polanco's RBI double in the 1st got the Phillies on the board. Hensley misses down low with a breaking ball. Been a good night of emails. We'll dip into the bag just a little bit more. We were talking about favorite Marlin plays ever. And Nelia thinks that Mike Lowell's hidden ball trick was one of the best. Can you play that one again? Because we, in a 10-run reel last night, dipped into great Marlin plays. Nelia, if you watch in the next 3, 4, 5 days, you will see that. We will bring out the
good stuff.
Hidden ball trick by Mike Lowell.
And I know you and I have been reading that Mike Lowell has said that he plans on retiring when the season finishes.
Adrian from Hialeah has sent his 5 top moments. 2-1 pitch. That's a strike. He says it's in honor of our 5th season together. This is actually our 6th season together. We started together in 05.
Boy, how time flies, Rich.
His favorite moments. He's got the Anibal Sanchez no-hitter. That one just missed. He's got Dontrelle Willis hitting a grand slam against the Mets. And then another game in which D-Train hit 2 homers against the Mets. Ugla's walk-off grand slam against the Phillies. And then the back-to-back jacks by Ugla and Ross to beat the Cubs. It's a pretty good list. Very solid. Ground ball, Tracy. Across the diamond. And Hensley has 2 quick outs here in the 9th. The Marlins will have in the 9th the 9-1-2 spots coming up against Lidge.
We'll see Scott Cousins will pinch it for Hensley. And then back to the top of the order.
Here now is Utley. Phillies have just 5 hits. The Marlins have 6. Both teams have left 10 on base.
Game that started 20 minutes late. Had a little shower early on. Where's that?
The shower or the pitch?
The pitch.
That's a.
What the heck is that?
That's as much of a strike as you can get.
I guess we all have bad nights.
One and two. Ground ball pulled foul. Earlier in the night, we were talking about Ugla and Utley and how Ugla is the first second baseman to have 4 30-homer seasons. Utley has done it 3 times, and he's not going to get there this year. He's got just 14. Utley is 31. Ugla is 30. You'd have to think both these guys have maybe a few more 30-homer seasons in them.
A couple of guys who have a lot of respect for each other, too.
Hensley trying to get that strike. And again, Tommy, that's a pitch against Utley that's on the inside corner that umpires just don't call because
you got to throw it right down the middle to Utley.
It's so close to him.
Especially with Gibson behind the plate.
Here's the 2-2. Hensley misses low with a breaking ball. Full count, 3-2. Utley pulls it foul. That one rolls by Davey Lopes. I think I saw today the all-time home run list for second baseman. And Ugla is 5 behind Davey Lopes. next on the list.
Davey Lopes with 155.
Up and in, and so Utley ends up walking. Tommy, there's that last pitch.
I don't even want to look anymore. If Utley batted with Gibson behind the plate, he'd walk 200 times a year and hit about 400. It's really getting borderline ridiculous. What do you do if you're a pitcher? What do you do? Have to throw it right down the middle. And Major League pitchers don't get here and stay here by throwing it down the middle. They get here by hitting corners, moving the ball up and down. I'm shifting my focus from Nyjer Morgan.
The all-time leader at second base for home runs, Jeff Kent, 377. Rogers Hornsby, 301.
I was going to say Hornsby was just over 300.
Craig Biggio, 291.
All of his as a second baseman, though, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
He began his career as a catcher.
Hensley misses outside, and he's gone 2-0. Ryan Sandberg, 282. Joe Morgan, 268. Morgan is 5th on that list. Runner on the move, and Utley's going to steal it.
That's the one thing about the Phillies. They're so good at getting that opportunistic steal. And a great jump. There's not much of a look by Clay Hensley, and not a chance at all for Brad Davis to throw him out. And all of a sudden now he's in scoring position, but now you don't pitch to Howard. So there's some good that came out of that too.
So here comes Worth now. Runners first and second. Hensley has thrown 20 pitches.
Yeah, and this all started after a couple of quick outs, a couple of ground ball outs, and the walk to Utley and the intentional pass to Howard.
Misses low, and it's 1-0. Misses up. 2-0.
Right now, Clay trying to find that sharpness that we saw him have in Washington, D.C.
With a dangerous left-handed bat on deck. He's 2-0 on Worth. Fastball, Worth went after it, and it's 2-1. Howard and Utley. Phillies with a 1-run lead in the 9th. Hensley gets another strike, and it's 2-2. The 2-2. Oh, yes. Breaking ball strikes him out.
Yeah, the slow hook.
Brad Lidge is coming in to try to save it for the Phillies, try to stretch their lead to 2 games. The Marlins will try to score a run and keep playing. car, truck, or van, who you going to call? 1-877-MAROONY. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 800-947-AUTO. And by Tobacco Free Florida. Escape the addiction of tobacco. Be free. Visit FloridaQuitline.com. Well, here's what's at stake here in the bottom of the ninth in South Florida. Brad Lidge is on for the Phillies, who have a 2-1 lead. Cole Hamels started this game and struck out 13. The Marlins have hung in there. A short start by rookie Alberto Mendez, and then a great effort by the Marlin bullpen to keep it at 2-1. You see Lidge's numbers on the year. He has blown 5 saves. The Marlins have their 9th spot up, and so Scott Cousins, a rookie, will pinch hit and lead off.
Cousins got a little taste of Lidge in Philadelphia, second game of that day-night doubleheader. He faced Lidge. Lidge got him, struck him out on that nasty slider. So the good news, he at least has a little better idea of what he's going to see from Brad Lidge.
And has had success as a pinch hitter. Lidge, of course, has that great slider, his calling card. He had the perfect season 2 years ago when the Phillies won the World Championship. Last year, not so perfect. He blew 11 saves last year. Cousins fouls it off, and it's 1-2. So Cousins, Bonifacio, and Logan Morrison. If the inning goes further, you've got Hanley Ramirez and Dan Uggla. 9th year for Lidge out of Cherry Creek, Colorado, and a product of Notre Dame. Slider misses, counts 2-2. Marlins will see a former wide receiver out of Notre Dame this weekend. Jeff Samardzija is scheduled to start, I believe, on Sunday for the Cubs.
Yeah, he's pitching Sunday.
See what Cousins gets. 2-2. Slider, and he just stays alive by getting a piece. The Atlanta Braves were shut out by the Washington Nationals 6-0. Levon Hernandez. And Levon went deep as well. He homered in that ball game. Beats Jair Jurgens. 2-2 coming. Little roller. Lidge has it and shovels it just in time to get Cousins. So the Phillies have it out. Up comes Bonifacio.
Now there's the left-hander, J.C. Romero. That might be window dressing. I'd be really surprised if Charlie were to bring him in to face Morrison. Especially when he has Lidge out there. And especially with the struggles of Romero the last few times out.
Especially against Morrison last week. Bonifacio now. Lidge drops a nice slider in for a strike. It's 0-1. Levon Hernandez went 8 innings. Did not give up a run and gave up just 5 hits.
It's his 10th win of the year.
0-1. Runs outside. So if the Phillies win this game, their lead is 2 in the East. Charlie Manuel and the Phillies have won the last 3 East titles. Fastball's out. It's 2-1.
And we've kind of set up their schedule. They've got the Nationals at home this weekend. Then Atlanta comes to town to Philadelphia. And then they take on the Braves the last 3 games of the season.
2-1 coming to Bonifacio. Two and 2.
2-1 slider. Got a pretty good feel for it tonight.
Well, he's missed with the fastballs, and he's thrown the sliders for strikes.
Here comes the slider.
Morrison is on deck. Lidge trying to shut the door for the Phillies.
And it's the guy the Marlins really want to get on base.
Popped him up. Ruiz throws the mask, makes the catch.
And you know what? Went with a fastball.
So it's down to Logan Morrison now. Morrison has singled and walked 34 consecutive games now. He has been on base, the longest current streak in the big leagues. Slider for a strike. Ball and a strike. It's out. 32 walks, 35 strikeouts for this rookie.
And in case you are wondering, Brad Lynch has allowed 5 home runs this year.
It was a good time to add that.
I thought we'd cap off the walks to strikeouts ratio of Lomo.
Here's the 2-1. Got the slider, hits it to center. Victorino charges in and makes the catch, and the Phillies have their win. A tight one. Lidge gets the save. The Phillies' lead in the East is now 2 games. The Marlins gave it their best shot. Great start by Cole Hamels, our South Florida Ford spotlight of the game. Brad Lidge coming in to save it with help from Chad Durbin and Ryan Madsen. Our Coors Light cold, hard blast. That is the winning run. That could be the Coors Light cold dribbler down the third baseline, but hey, that's the difference in the ball game. That little dribbler with 1 out. Jason Worth gets the RBI. Charlie Manuel and the Phillies get the win. Marlins Live is next.